This is Pet Life Radio. Let's talk pets.
Have you ever opened an email that led to discovering something new that had an impact on your life? I can say that today's guests, Barbara Ahlfield and her daughter Alexandra, came into my life in just that way. Barbara is a top fashion illustrator turned fine artist whose art show Evite at the Art Expo New York landed in my inbox in 2015. I was so struck by her art and a brand new series she was debuting called Fashionable People, Fashionable Pets, that I immediately reached out and was fortunate enough to book an interview with her for my blog at the time, Bark and Swagger, and for Hampton's Pet Magazine, where I was an editor at the time. That interview began a friendship that took a few years to culminate in an in-person meeting, but by the time we did, we felt like family. Alexandra, Barbara's daughter and an MBA in marketing whiz, met my husband Stanley and I with her dad Bill at an event in New York City, which was supposed to be her mom and my first big meeting. But Barbara had come down with the flu and she had to stay home. Now, fast forward, today, Barbara and Alex are partners in a beautiful company called SisuMoi, which marries Barbara's unique art with items we use every day, but with a special message attached, which we'll learn about shortly. For products, think tech accessories, home goods, bags, lifestyle products. We're going to find out all about SisuMoi and Barbara and Alex and the very unusual and beautiful pieces they offer after a short break from our sponsor. You're listening to Bark and Swagger on Pet Life Radio. I'm Jody Miller-Young, your host. Grab that favorite beverage, get comfortable. We'll be right back.
She's a purebred, orange and white Brittany, but when we adopted April, she started scratching like crazy. I said, what you put into a dog is what you get out. DINOVITE.com. So we added a huge scoop of Dinovite in her bowl. She licked it clean. She loved it. Her coat is now soft. It's silky. Dinovite is nutrition.
You get some Dinovite, how happy your dog will be.
On Dinovite, she's Little Miss Hollywood. DINOVITE.com.
Let's Talk Pets on PetLifeRadio.com.
Welcome back. You're listening to Bark and Swagger on Pet Life Radio. If you've just joined, we're here today with fashion illustrator turned fine artist Barbara Ahlfield and Alexandra Ahlfield, her daughter, and partners in SisuMoi, a beautiful art meets necessary items brand. Hey, Barbara. Hey, Alex. Welcome.
Hi, Jody.
Oh, hi, guys. I swear, I was really worried that I was going to start getting teary in talking about the two of you because you do feel like family. And, you know, it's just, there's such a warm feeling there. So I'm really glad you're doing the show. Thank you.
Oh, it's our honor and pleasure, and we feel exactly the same way about you. Mutual, just there is.
Thank you. Before we get too mushy over here, let's just set the stage, Barbara, a bit about your background for my listeners. I mean, I touched on it, but you were one of the top fashion illustrators at a time when you'd open your city or local newspaper and see illustrations of the latest fashions on models. I mean, your illustrations graced the pages for decades of papers like the New York Times, the Chicago Tribune, the Washington Post, and many more. Tell us a bit about what you did, that process, and which brands you sketched for.
Well, I was actually a staff illustrator for 3 different department stores before I went out as a freelance artist on my own. And, you know, I sketched for Calvin Klein, Ralph Lauren, Tommy Hilfiger, other brands, house brands. I worked for Carlisle, which is a fashion house in New York that has their own brand, their own label. And I did this for many years. I was hired to set the pace in advertising departments to sort of establish a style that would be an individual signature for each store, and the other artists would follow it. So, I did that for about 3 stores, and that went on for maybe 10 years. And at the end of that, I became a freelance illustrator. And at that point, I could work for many stores, and that's what I did. And, during that time, I worked at home. My daughter, Alex, was born during that time. Mm-hmm. And it's basically 24/7. I mean, it was a ton of work. There was a lot of work there. I was happy to do it, and it was exciting.
Yeah,
So,
and at a time, too, when women were just sort of starting to come into their own, and fashion is always sort of an indicator of where things are at, sort of the zeitgeist, if you will. What was that like, being in that place at that time?
Well, at that time, especially when I first started, that was during the disco era. So, I mean, I can't tell you how much fun that was.
Oh, absolutely.
That was the greatest. And, I was sketching very fancy things. I was going out to discos. I remember one of the stores I worked for, Heck Company in Washington, I was telling Alex earlier that, we'd arrive around 8 a.m. in the morning, the advertising department people, and there would be disco music blasting all through to start the day.
The good old days.
We were all very young illustrators and people in advertising, and we would do our jobs, and then at night we'd head to the disco. So, that was sort of that era. And then the 80s, very much like Dallas, the show Dallas with the big hair and the shoulder pads. So one of the beauties of being a fashion illustrator is that it always changes. And, you have to become very proficient in knowing what the current hairstyles are and the, of course, skirt lengths, shoes, accessories, jewelry, all of it. And what I would do is I would buy every fashion magazine that was on the stands, and I would rip them up every month and have files of, inspiration and that sort of thing. So that's kind of how that went.
That's amazing. That is amazing. Alex, what was it like growing up with a mom who was at the forefront of such a creative field? Do you have great stories? I'm sure you've got some great stories.
Oh, I do, Jody. It was so cool. I remember as a kid, every Sunday morning we would come down and we'd have coffee, or I guess my parents would at the time. And my mom would come down late usually on Sundays because she had massive deadlines every week. And she's a major night owl. So she would be up until 5 o'clock in the morning when my dad would wake up and rush to BWI Airport to drive her artwork to be rushed to New York in the morning. So,
oh, my God.
It was really exciting. There'd be shipments of incredible clothes from New York that were rushed into the house, and we'd put them on mannequins. And, then we'd open the paper on Sunday morning, and, I remember my dad would say to me, "You have no idea how cool your mom is. Watch this." And we would open the paper and we would flip the New York Times like 8 times of double page ads. Barbara Tyler Ahlfield, Calvin Klein, Barbara Tyler Ahlfield, Hutzler's, Lord & Taylor. And it was such a cool moment and time for her. And as a kid, you think it's cool, but you don't really realize how cool it is until you're grown up and you see that. So very proud of her.
Wow, I'm like getting goosebumps as a fellow fashion lover. It is, and listeners to Bark and Swagger are fashion lovers too. It's a very, very cool thing to do and to grow up around and to just sort of be a part of something that is, so many people were seeing. So this influenced so many lives around the country and the world. These papers were read by, as we know, millions of people. So it's very, very cool. So let's just kind of turn the hands of time forward to today. And you, Alex, and your mom have been showing her artwork in galleries and shows around the world. which is amazing. You're grown up now. How did coming together to create this company come about?
Thanks, Jody. Yeah, it's been quite an evolution and a process. I think when photography came in and really disrupted the market, my mom pursued her second dream as a fine artist. And that was, we started taking oil painting classes together in the summers at the beginning of her oil painting career. And she started, her growth of her oil painting brand at Art Expo New York. We went up one year and we started meeting galleries and showing her work. And, we really kind of had a better sense of what was going on in the art world. And it was very different from, what my mom described earlier on our call. It's a tough time for artists. It's a difficult time. We saw people, loving the look, but not quite sure what to do with fine art. And so, as her work traveled nationally and, my mom was awarded Artist of the Year 2019 by Art Tour International. She was published in multiple magazines globally. Art Business News said she was a woman on the move, But we just found that, wow, fine art, we'd like to take it out of the gallery and into the hands of the everyday person. I think it's such a consumer culture today that,
Exactly.
they don't have huge oil paintings of their family members so much anymore. They more have, I travel and here's a, painting I picked up there that's on this bag or a postcard. So we started just kind of shifting our focus, and I just graduated school and I said, you know what, let's try this. People love it. Let's find a more affordable price point and let's bring fine art into the everyday hands of people. So
yeah,
it's been a lot of fun.
Absolutely. I think you're absolutely right about that. People now want to express themselves through art as opposed to just stare at it on their wall. So this is a perfect way to marry the two. And it looks really beautiful on the pieces. And those of you listening, you'll be able to see images on the Bark and Swagger page of the Pet Life Radio site of these pieces of art, wearable or toteable or, just all different types of everyday products, home goods with this beautiful art on it. Now, this is something that you told me about that I thought was really, really special and that seemed to be a defining point of the SisuMoi brand. You're expanding the meaning of SisuMoi into what you call stories. Tell us about that, Alex.
Yeah, thanks, Jody. We were all at dinner one night, and my parents and we were talking about consumer products and bringing her art onto, lifestyle products. And, we were trying to think of what's the name that kind of, captures our brand and what do we want to stand for? And there's an ancient Finnish term. It's called sisu, and it's a universal capacity. It's a second wind of strength that kicks in that everybody has when they're overcoming a major obstacle or type of adversity. And it's kind of this unnamed thing, in Western culture, but in for the Finns, this is a very big part of everyday life and channeling your sisu to overcome and to reach your dreams. So, with my mom, that's what she represented to me, watching her as a woman in business, as you mentioned earlier on the call, at the forefront of women in fashion in business. And that was just the earlier part of her career. Before she fully started showing, she had a macular degeneration diagnosis where she ended up currently is considered legally blind, and that's a part of the story that she does not, she never led with, never really told the people at all of the shows we were, touring that, hey, I'm so glad you like my work. It's hard. It's hard for me to produce this, but it's my passion. And I said, Mom, you have that. That is we all have sisu, but that is a perfect example of sisu, strength in overcoming a magical quality despite the odds to deliver your gift. And moi is French for me. So we're all about empowering dreamers to rise above, reach their dreams, through our story to make their own story.
I love that. I love that. And, we should let everyone know that there is a happy ending to that story with Barbara, right? You did do treatment that has helped tremendously. Yes?
Yeah. I'm checked periodically on a fairly regular basis, and I have the kind of macular degeneration that there is a remedy for. It doesn't take it away, but because it is a degenerative disease, but it stops it from getting worse, and that is shots that are given in the eye. I get something called Lucentis. And, it works, because if you didn't have that, you'd quickly go blind, because it's really bleeding behind the eye, and it affects the macula, which is really where your central vision originates from. So, I'm lucky that there's a remedy out there.
Absolutely.
And, I can still produce. So
and it's your passion. It's your love. You've been drawing since you're 2 on your walls in your bedroom, right?
Exactly. Yes, I have.
So this is a lifelong passion. So I'm so happy to hear that. We are going to take a little break for our sponsor, but when we come back, Barbara is going to take us through some of the beautiful, beautiful art pieces that you can call your own too, that are included on some of the SisuMoi products and any stories that might be behind them. So don't go away. Refresh that beverage, and we'll be right back.
Sit. Stay. We'll be right back, right after we kibble a little with our sponsors.
It's DesignerPetSweaters.com. Hand-knitted designer sweaters for your precious pup or cool cat. Beautiful couture patterns for your pets, including custom-knitted formal wear, casual wear, yachting, and even sports-themed. Many designer pet sweaters include feathered tammy hats, top hats, and a lot of sparkle. Each sweater includes leg loops, front paw sleeves, and leash opening. Visit DesignerPetSweaters.com to order your 4-legged fashions today. Large or small, we fit them all. DesignerPetSweaters.com.
Let's talk pets.
Let's talk pets
On Pet Life Radio.
Pet Life Radio.
PetLifeRadio.com.
Welcome back. You're listening to Bark and Swagger on Pet Life Radio. I'm Jody Miller Young. We're here today with Barbara and Alexandra Ahlfield, mother and daughter, fine artist, and MBA in marketing whiz, partners in a beautiful company called SisuMoi, marrying Barbara's beautiful art with products, necessity products that you can use every day. Barbara, take us through some of the art pieces that you both chose to be included in SisuMoi.
Sure. One of them is called Vapor, and Vapor is a large painting of actually Alex in a very diaphanous blue gown floating through the night sky with my borzoi, Varushka, who is pictured twice. And the name Vapor sort of, I don't know, when I came up with it, I was thinking that smoke. I was thinking about smoke being a vapor, and I was remembering how my dad used to blow smoke rings when I was a little girl and how fascinated I was with that whole thing, the image of the smoke forming and then disappearing. And I thought, that's kind of like life, life is sort of like a vapor, a beautiful vapor here, but, it's not here for very long. So you really have to take advantage of it and, grab every single drop out of it that you can while you're here.
Breathe it in.
Exactly. So that was Vapor. There's another one, Aquatic Highway. And Aquatic Highway was sort of, I think the catalyst was I'd like to do paintings of people and their pets, and I like to do animals, and I had not done turtles. So I actually have turtles. And I thought, I'm going to incorporate Alex again, my model, and have her swimming in the water. And I thought, the water is very peaceful. but it's also got its own highway, just like we have our highway above land. And that was sort of the thought behind that particular painting.
Wasn't a turtle the one pet that you were able to have as a child? Do I remember that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I had 6 turtles at one time.
For a girl who loved animals, that she was only able to have a turtle, I understand 6 turtles.
I know. Yeah, my mom was into the furry creatures that we are so gaga about now. I mean,
yeah.
We had turtles.
You're preaching to the converted over here.
Oh, no, I know.
Yeah. Tell us more, Barbara. Tell us more.
Well, that we chose was Moonlight Daiquiri, and the subject in that painting is of ours. And she's a concert pianist, and she also plays harpsichord, and she's a teacher as well. And, she had a real grace about her, and I thought, you know what, she'd make a wonderful model. There's not actually an animal in that painting, but I just sort of wanted to portray her as old Hollywood, sort of looking over her shoulder and wearing, a silver gown, like liquid silver. And so that's behind that one. There's other paintings that I have that we will be introducing, and quite a few of them do have animals. There's another one in the collection now that we're showing, and that one is called Shrimp Taffeta, and that's really a painting of contemplation, of a woman sort of reclining in a fabulous gown, which we actually have. I have a lot of prop gowns. And she's on the water, in turbulent seas. And that's on many of our products. Alex actually has it on her cell phone. And the cell phones are great for these paintings because they're done by casemates and they're beautifully constructed. They're very, very strong, and they have a high gloss. So that's the story of that one.
Yeah. I think that what people will get when they look at some of this work is, which first captivated me when I first saw your paintings, is there's this magical luminescence that emanates from Barbara's paintings, her creations, and there's sort of this fantasy and fantastical aspect to it. So it just sort of takes you into another world. It's very ethereal and very beautiful and relaxing. Yeah, it's fantastic. So you'll see more. Alex, tell us about some of the products that people will have access to buy with Barbara's art.
So we have lifestyle products. The idea started with these cell phone covers. We originally thought we're just going to have tech accessories and cell phone cases. Everybody needs one. Everybody replaces it eventually. That, it's such a big opportunity with cell phones. But we ended up talking with our friends and our mentors, and everybody said, oh my God, you need to put it on an acrylic tray for an entertaining perfume tray, or, an entertaining tea tray. And, oh my gosh, put it on a dream journal for people to overcome, their challenges and share their dreams. To, T-shirts. Let's see some of that retro, super cool vintage line work that your mom used to do in the newspapers, and let's honor that on a graphic tee. So we've gotten a lot of requests from our friends and a lot of support, which we've been very grateful for. And so we've expanded, mostly into clothing, accessories, and home goods. Those are the 3 kind of markets that we're in right now.
Fantastic. I am definitely a fan, and I will definitely be a customer. Take a look, everybody, on the Bark and Swagger page. See some of the beautiful pieces, and choose which one most represents you as a dreamer and someone who has come through a big challenge in your life. Alex, you mentioned that SisuMoi is a shopping for good brand. Tell us what that means.
Yes. So, my mom and I have always believed in giving, and that's so important in life. You gain so much from giving to others. And we really were kind of talking about, what would be some of the core causes that would be really important for us. And, art, animals, and health are what came to mind. Health because of what my mom shared earlier with macular degeneration. And, Sisu, you're threatened mind, physical and spiritual in life. So your health is central to, moving forward through your dreams. Animals, right now we have 2 kitties on our lap. They're boyfriends and girlfriends. And animals are a huge part of, our family. So giving back to animals and causes that support animal welfare. My mom has always been an animal philanthropist, so that's something that we definitely wanted to continue. And for the art, it's something that is so personal, and we all have our own version of creativity. So using art to heal through events and, community organizations and things like that. So we've partnered with organizations that can help us give back, and a portion of our proceeds is given to these 3 causes.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So when you're shopping for good. That's always a good thing to know, and it's a good feeling. Before we go, where can people find you?
So we are so excited to connect with everyone. You can reach us at SisuMoi.com, which is S as in Sam, I-S-U, M as in Mary, O-I.com. And make sure that you join our newsletter. We feature SisuMoi inspirational stories from some of our leaders monthly. So super excited to connect with everyone.
Fantastic. Before I let everyone go, I just want to share one of the many reasons why I love this family. And that resides in a special place on our living room wall. And I'm hoping I'm not going to get choked up here. Barbara, a few years ago, was kind and generous enough to paint me with our 4 at the time dogs all around me. The painting is so beautiful and so special to me, even more so now since losing our little Chihuahua Albie last February. But I can now look at him every day on my wall. So thank you again, Barbara. It's such a special, special gift, and I'm very grateful.
I was honored, and, people can't see you, but you are so beautiful, Jody.
Oh, thank you.
Favorite calls, and so are your dogs. All of them. It was just a pleasure to paint you. I had so much fun doing it.
Thank you so, so much. Barbara, Alex, thank you both for joining me today. I'm so glad that we were able to introduce my audience to SisuMoi and your beautiful art and products, and I hope people will go and shop for good. I wish you both so much success with SisuMoi, and as I said, I, for one, will be a customer, so thank you.
Thank
you so much, Jody. This was so fun.
Yes, great to be with you.
It was. It definitely was. Thank you all for listening. Thanks to our producer, Mark Winter. Mark, you make us sound like geniuses, and we love you for it. My passion is living stylishly and animal rescue. So tune in next time to discover the designers, home decor, styles, and rescue stories I love. Don't forget to visit me at barkandswagger.com, where you'll find great fashion, shelter stories, and more. So until next time, when fierce fashion calls, bark and swagger.
Let's Talk Pets, every week on demand, only on PetLifeRadio.com.